"You can't afford this neighborhood," sneered the realtor. Then she saw the name on the check. The February rain fell soft and cold against the windows of Hartwell Associates Real Estate, turning the glass into streams of silver. Inside, Eleanor Chen sat at her desk, hands wrapped around a cup of tea that had long gone cold. She was 42 and successful by every measure that mattered to the world outside. Senior architect at Morrison Partners, awards on her walls, projects in 3 countries. A downtown condo with floor-to-ceiling windows that made other people say, wow, when they visited, which wasn't often because Eleanor rarely invited anyone over. The tea had gone cold because she'd forgotten it was there, the way she forgot a lot of things lately: birthdays, dinners with colleagues she'd promised to attend, the last time she'd called her sister, 3 years since the divorce, 2 years since her father died, 1 year since she'd stopped pretending the condo felt like anything other than a beautiful empty box. Eleanor looked at the house listings scattered across her desk. She'd been looking for months now, though she couldn't quite explain why. Something about turning 42 had made the silence in her condo unbearable. She thought maybe a house would fix it, a real house, with a yard and neighbors and the kind of roots she'd spent her whole adult life avoiding. Outside, the rain turned to sleet. The realtor's name was Patricia Ashford, and she arrived at the Meadowbrook, viewing in a black Mercedes that looked like it cost more than most people's houses. Eleanor pulled up behind her in her modest sedan, already feeling the familiar weight of being judged. Patricia's smile was professional and cold as winter marble. "Ms. Chen, I'm Patricia, shall we?" The house was perfect. A 1920s craftsman with good bones and crown molding, and the kind of front porch that seemed designed for summer evenings and conversations with neighbors. The neighborhood was called Willowbrook Heights, full of families and old trees and sidewalks where children drew with chalk. Eleanor fell in love with it in the first 5 minutes. "It's wonderful," she said softly, running her hand along the built-in bookshelf in the living room. Patricia's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "It's a family neighborhood, Ms. Chen. Very established. The HOA is quite particular about maintaining a certain character." Eleanor knew what that meant. She'd heard it before, in a dozen different ways, in a dozen different places. Too single, too childless, too foreign-looking, though no one ever said that part out loud. "I see," Eleanor said quietly. They were standing in the kitchen when the back door opened. A little girl stepped inside, no more than 7 years old, with dark curls escaping from beneath a wet-knit cap. She wore a puffy coat, 2 sizes too big, and rain boots with cartoon frogs on them. In her hands she carried a small potted plant, the leaves drooping slightly. "Oh," she said, stopping short when she saw them. "I'm sorry. I thought, Mrs. Ashford, I brought this for the house. Mama said houses need something living in them to become homes." Patricia's expression tightened. "Maya, sweetheart, you can't just walk in here. This is a private viewing." But Eleanor was already kneeling down, eye level with the child. "That's very thoughtful," she said gently. "What kind of plant is it?" Maya's face brightened. "It's a peace lily. Mama says they're good at forgiving you if you forget to water them sometimes. Are you going to live here?" "I'd like to," Eleanor said. "Are you lonely?" The question hit Eleanor like a hand pressed against her heart. No one had asked her that, not in 3 years, not ever, maybe. "Yes," she whispered. "I am." Maya studied her with dark, serious eyes that seemed far too knowing for 7 years old. Then she held out the plant. "Then you should definitely live here," she said. "Lonely people need homes most of all." Patricia cleared her throat. "Maya, where's your mother?" "Next door. We live next door. Well, not next door exactly. We live in the garage apartment behind the Hendersons' house. But I can see this house from my window." She turned back to Eleanor. "I've been waiting for someone kind to move in. The last people had a really mean dog." Eleanor took the plant carefully, cradling it like something precious. "Thank you, Maya. This is the nicest gift anyone's given me in a very long time." "You're welcome." Maya smiled, and it was like sun breaking through clouds. "I hope you buy it. I think you'd be a good neighbor." After Maya left, Patricia's professional mask slipped slightly. The Hendersons rent out their garage apartment to, well, Maya's mother, Carmen, works 2 jobs. Very hard-working, but she paused delicately. "The situation is temporary, I'm sure. They won't be here long." Eleanor stood slowly, still holding the plant. "How much is the house?" Patricia named a figure that made Eleanor's heart sink. It was more than she'd planned to spend, more than was sensible. "I'll need to think about it," Eleanor said. Patricia's smile returned, relieved. "Of course. It's a significant investment. And really, Ms. Chen, I should mention, the neighborhood association is very particular. They like families, established families. I'm not sure this would be the right fit for someone in your situation. Eleanor looked out the kitchen window at the small garage apartment, barely visible through the trees. She could see a light in the window, could imagine Maya inside, probably doing homework at a small table, her mother probably getting ready for a night shift. My situation, Eleanor repeated quietly. Single professional, no children, you understand? Eleanor understood perfectly. She set the peace lily carefully on the kitchen counter and walked out. The coffee shop near Eleanor's office had terrible coffee but excellent quiet corners. She sat there for 2 hours that evening, her laptop open, running numbers that didn't quite work. The house was too expensive. Taking it would mean emptying her savings, being house poor for years, giving up the security she'd spent 2 decades building. But she kept thinking about Maya's question, "Are you lonely?" And she kept thinking about the way the little girl had looked at her, like Eleanor was someone worth giving a gift to. Like Eleanor was someone who might understand about forgiveness and peace lilies and lonely people needing homes. She pulled up the house, listing again, read the description, looked at the photos of the empty rooms that somehow, after one visit, already felt like they could be hers. Then she made a phone call. "Aunt Helen, it's Eleanor. I need to ask you something." 3 days later, Eleanor walked back into Hartwell Associates with a cashier's check in her hand. Patricia looked up from her desk, surprise flickering across her face. "Ms. Chen, I wasn't expecting—" "I'd like to make an offer on the Willowbrook Heights property," Eleanor said. "Full asking price. Cash sale." Patricia blinked. Ms. Chen, as I mentioned, the neighborhood association will have no legal grounds to reject my offer," Eleanor said calmly. She'd done her research, spent 3 days learning everything she could about housing discrimination and HOA regulations and fair housing laws. "It's a cash sale. I'm pre-qualified. I have no criminal record, no history of HOA violations, and no pets. There is no legal reason to reject my offer." She placed the check on Patricia's desk. Patricia picked it up, and Eleanor watched the exact moment her face changed. The moment she saw the name printed at the top, Helen Morrison. Morrison and Partners, one of the most prestigious architectural firms in the state. "Morrison?" Patricia breathed. "As in—" "My aunt," Eleanor said. "She's co-signing, though I should mention that I'm perfectly capable of affording this house on my own. I'm a senior architect. I've designed buildings in 3 countries. I have excellent credit and significant savings. But I wanted to make absolutely certain there would be no misunderstandings about my ability to invest in this neighborhood." Patricia's professional mask was back, but there was something else underneath it now. Calculation, reassessment. "Of course," she said smoothly. "I'll submit the offer immediately. I'm sure there won't be any issues." Eleanor knew there wouldn't be. Not now, not with Helen Morrison's name on the check, carrying the weight of reputation and money and the kind of social capital that made people reconsider their prejudices. She hated that it mattered. She hated that Maya's question, "Are you lonely?" had been easier to answer than Patricia's unspoken ones, but she smiled politely and said, "I look forward to becoming part of the Willowbrook Heights community." The closing took 6 weeks. Eleanor moved in on a Saturday in April, when the world was turning, green and soft with spring. The moving truck had barely pulled away when she heard a sound on the front porch. Maya stood there, holding another plant. This one was blooming, tiny white flowers like stars. "Welcome home," she said simply. Eleanor's throat went tight. "Thank you, Maya." "Mama made you cookies. She said it's what neighbors do." Maya held out a container wrapped in a clean dish towel. "She's at work right now, but she wanted you to have something warm." Eleanor took the cookies, still warm through the towel, and felt something break open in her chest. "That's very kind. Please thank her for me." "You can thank her yourself. She works at the diner on 5th Street, the one with the good pancakes." Maya peered past her into the empty house. "Do you need help unpacking?" Eleanor looked at this small, serious child who had somehow seen straight through to the loneliest parts of her. "Actually," she said, "I could use some company." Maya's smile could have lit the whole street. They spent the afternoon together. Maya was surprisingly helpful, directing Eleanor on where furniture should go, with the confidence of someone who'd given it serious thought. She talked about school and her mother and the Hendersons, who let them live in the garage apartment, even though they were sometimes late with rent. "Mama works really hard," Maya said, carefully placing books on a shelf. "She works at the diner and cleans offices at night. She wants to go to nursing school, but she says that's just a dream for now." "Dreams are important," Eleanor said quietly. "That's what Mama says too. She says that's why she works so hard, so I can have all my dreams." Maya looked up at her. What are your dreams? No one had asked Eleanor that in years. She'd had dreams once, big ones, buildings that would touch the sky, designs that would change how people lived. But sitting there in her new house with this small, wise child, Eleanor realized her dreams had shifted. I think, she said slowly, I dream about not being lonely anymore. Maya nodded solemnly, as if this made perfect sense. Then you're in the right place, she said. And somehow, incredibly, Eleanor believed her. The peace lily sat on the kitchen windowsill, its leaves reaching toward the light, and for the first time in 3 years, Eleanor Chen felt like she might be coming home.